Get more done.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Ms. Nunnally, we have two commissioners here by Zoom. Just make sure you speak up so that they can hear you, okay?
All right.
There you go. Good morning. My name is Andrew Morgan. We are here conducting interviews for the county court vacancy in Volusia County.
Yes.
You've obviously applied. Can you start by introducing yourself and telling us why you believe you're qualified for the job?
All right, thank you. Well, great morning to everyone. My name is Regina Nunnally, born and raised here in Daytona Beach, Florida. Graduated from Mainland Senior High, went across the street to Daytona Beach Community College, now Daytona State. Then went up the street to University of Florida. Graduated from there, went to Berry University. And I believe that the reason why I want to become a judge is because I want to continue serving the public. I come from a long line of servant leaders. My father was a pastor, and so hence in my room we call ourselves preacher kids. And so, I have built my life around serving others. As a child growing up in the church, I was president of Sunday school, I was president of my usher board, and then moving on up into high school and being part of leadership, I'm a servant leader. And I believe the governor is looking for someone who has a proven track record of not only being able to serve the community, which I have, but being able to serve through my legal experience. I've been an assistant public defender for over 18, almost 19 years. And I've represented people from all walks of life, diversities. And when I look at the county court, I look at it as the people's court. And one day I was sitting on a Zoom listening to judges talk about the county court and talk about how we deal with the vulnerable population. And in my 19 years of being a lawyer, be April, be 19, I've dealt with the vulnerable population, looking out for their best interests, making sure their rights have not been violated, giving them the competent service that my oath requires. So I'm a servant. I love to see people win. I want to see people get their just due. I want to see people not being taken advantage of, and I believe being a county court judge, I'll be able to continue to exhibit that same service.
First of all, thank you. You have a lot of support in the community. We all received a lot of letters, so you should be proud of that.
Thank you. I'm overwhelmed.
I'm sure it would be.
I said, that's about me.
So obviously you've been before us, and some of those have been circuit spots.
Right.
What do you see yourself better suited for? County court, circuit court, and why?
Well, I believe your judicial temperament is static. It's a common denominator, whether you're in county or circuit. I think what the difference is because of the severity of cases and more cases that's involved, levied by our legislator, the way they separate it out. I've worked in circuit pretty much all my life, and I've worked in county somewhat. But for me, because of the county position here in Volusia County, I'm well rooted, I'm well settled here, and I just want to, I feel like I'm more connected to this community. In a circuit, they'll move you around, and I think community is very important when you're a county judge. If you're connected to the community, you can better relate to the community. When you relate to the community, then they can drop their guard down. And there's a lot of implicit bias that happens, and that's because, sometimes people, there was a study that came out about implicit bias, and I said, you know what, as a criminal defense attorney, I've had to deal with that myself. I had to learn how to deal with my implicit biases by regulating whether it's my logic kicking in, whether it's my opinion kicking in, or whether it's my feelings kicking in. And because of that, I believe that the people's court, the county court, will need someone to be able to, that can overcome that implicit bias, to be able to give them what they need to be able to make sure that they're heard. And so I believe I'm qualified for either way, whether it's county or circuit. That's my personal opinion. But when I think about it, I think, county-wise, it'd be nice to start there. And then maybe go to the next level, whether it be circuit or federal or whatever it might be.
What about, this, everyone anticipates that this will be a county civil spot. How do you deal with that? Your career has been on the criminal side of
Right.
the coin, and now you'll have to end up in a civil court where obviously the rules of evidence are the same, but the issues are very different, and the rules may be different, and the law may be different. How would you handle that?
Well, as a lawyer, as you said, issue the law. Whatever the issues are, I apply the law to that particular given circumstance that's been brought to me, and I make my analysis and my conclusion, and therefore I decide. I preside, I decide. I don't believe being my criminal background would alter that. If anything, it makes me advantageous, because the civil caseload can be quite heavy. The issues are complex. The individuals coming in, they're all scared and nervous, and they don't know what's going to happen. So if anything, because of my background, because I come from a hard-working background where we're in court all the time, motions, hearings, picking juries, I would just adapt to the bench to be able to handle that high caseload. As for the law is the law. I just follow the law. Whatever the law says to do, whatever the procedure says to do, you just follow it. You apply it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I don't believe that because it's civil, it will be a hindrance to me. I did a little bit of civil before I became a public defender. I worked in some DCF cases, so I'm pretty familiar with that area. So it would not be a situation where I feel like I'm a fish out of water. Because I think the main thing is I'm a hard worker, I can learn. I didn't know anything about criminal law. I learned it, okay? There's a lot of things I didn't know anything about business. I didn't learn about people. There's a lot of things I had to learn, but that's part of personal development. Mentorship, always going to classes, always trying to better myself to make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do. And that's to make sure that the integrity of the justice system is being upheld because I'm knowledgeable. So, God bless you. So my whole goal when I come in is to learn as much as I can and to do my best, but it won't be on-the-job training because you're still dealing with people. You're still dealing with human beings. You're still dealing with issues. You're still dealing with obstacles. And because of my 19 years of experience, I will be able to transition very well. And my picture's cute too.
But that black belt that you got is pretty impressive too.
Well, that's interesting to say that because I akin the black belt as to the black road because it was a very hard road to get that. And I wanted to quit along the way because of the obstacles that's come along in my life, but it was my father who really came in and instilled in me this work ethic of finish what you start. And that goes adding to what you were talking about is that it gets tough, but you have to still work through it, power through it. And that's another added benefit I bring to the bench. I'm sorry, I cut you. I don't mean to cut you off.
I was going to ask you what the status was of those cases that you had pending in. Was it county court?
It's in county court. Matter of fact, I had a hearing in front of Judge Sanders. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. And that was interesting. It was nerve-wracking. I'm thinking, okay, now I know how my clients feel. You sit in a hot seat, and it's life. And so I'm working with a group that's negotiating with the credit card company to be able to work it out. I was able to get the paperwork to them. And so that's what it is. We're just in the pending stages trying to work out a settlement. I called them and said, hey, can y'all have this ready before March 1st? And they were like, we'll try, but it wasn't able. So working it out, the other two worked out a settlement. And that's where it is right now. It's kind of in flux. But I just wanted to add this. When I was watching how Judge Sanders was, how he was operating, and he had so many people coming in, and it was an overload. And he was like, you know, I'm here. This is we double booked, but he handled it well. And I saw there were so many people up in there. They had so many issues and all that. And I said, this is simple per se. And I said, I can do this because everybody coming in there with, it's the same thing. It's just a different arena. And so I said, yeah, he handling it well. And I was just watching what he was doing, just to see if there was anything I'm missing. And it's a matter of being patient and letting people know that their time is coming and doing your part.
Thank you. Can you tell us about your work with the Rotary Club?
Yes, they are a happy bunch. I joined Rotary in Flagler County because that's where I mainly work. And they have their meetings every Tuesday during lunch. And I started Rotary. At first, I didn't know what a Rotary was. And then one of my friends, Judge Davidson, not Judge Campbell, she encouraged me that if I wanted to get to know more about Flagler community, I need to get connected with people who are part of the community. So while being with them, I was there for about a year. They asked me to be secretary, so I was secretary for 2 years because that allowed me to get to learn more about Rotary, about the four-way test, and about the inside and out. Then I became vice president, and it was actually grooming me for president. But at that time, I had to tell them, I said, I can't do that right now because my obligation with the public defender's office at the time, it was getting really busy. And I said, you need someone that's going to get in here and do the job and do the work. I've been in leadership positions before, and I know how it is, and I go all in. You're about leading people, but you lead by example. So I said, I can't do that right now. I wouldn't be a good fit at this point in my life. And I'm also on the board of directors, and so we have our meetings dealing with everyday issues with the board, and we're out in the community. One of our biggest fundraisers is Fantasy Lights. You all should go. It's during Christmas. Then we're out there in the rain, in the cold, greeting everybody to come in. That's one of our biggest fundraisers. We also do road cleanup. We also do, we have our flagship. We work with Project Warm, which is the inpatient treatment center for women and that are going through treatment or maybe going through, dealing with domestic issues. We deal with them. And at times we are asked to, I'm asked to do the invocation, to pray, to say a word of encouragement, and eat and fellowship with the rest. But being with Rotary, we talked about the four-way test about is it the truth? Is what I do fair to all concerned? Is what I do beneficial to all concerned? And, is it something that we all can do together as a Rotary group? And that's a variation of the four-way test, but it's important. It's important for me to get to know the community, and that's where I came in. And now I get a chance to know people who involved, and we get involved, and we do things to help better the community. So that's pretty much, what Rotary has been able to do, instill in us to just, service above self. It's not about us; it's about everyone else.
What about electability? I think that there's been a trend towards there being more judicial elections, and sure, if you get selected and appointed, you'll need to start thinking about being prepared for an election. Do you think you could defend the seat? And if so, what are some of the things that you're thinking about?
You asking a defense attorney if I can defend my seat? Of course I can defend the seat. Well, I think the first line of defense is the best offense. And the first thing you need to do is I already have a strong connection to this community, not just county, but circuit-wide. People know me in Flagler because I work there. I'm involved there in the community through the Rotary and also through Teen Court. That connection flows into Putnam as well as St. John. So, what you saw was a tip of the iceberg of the people who are willing to help and support me. I have been in communication with individuals about the possibility of running. I actually went through a class, I believe, went through a class that talked about how to run and what to expect. So I've done personal development in that area. And so it's already set with the connections, with my networking, with individuals. And once I say I'm getting ready to run, I believe everything's already set up, just have to get it going. Now, I've been involved in campaigns before, city commissioner, judicial campaigns, and not in the integral, because I was treasurer for Judge Fields 1 year. But I am aware of what goes on, and it's just a matter of just getting it done. And then when I'm on the bench, I just continue serving people. I continue getting involved in the community. And I believe in the Code of Judicial Conduct, they encourage you to be involved in the community, to connect with them, to teach them about the legal system, to help. And so as long as I'm doing my part on the bench, and I'm doing my part in the community, and I continue with the connections that I have already, I am thoroughly convinced I could defend I mean, someone's gonna come up, someone's gonna try to do it, because I'm gonna say this, it's not my seat. It's really not my seat. I'm occupying that seat because of that time period, whether it be 2 years or 6 years. I'm not gonna lay claim to something, and I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna lay claim to something and say, well, this is my seat, you can't have it. I will say this is my seat, this is where I am for the season. And I'm gonna do my job while I'm here, because I may decide to want to move forward to another seat. But I'm not gonna get the judge rope fever where someone feels like you can't take this from me, and then I feel like it's a personal attack. It's not a personal attack against me. I'm not gonna look at it that way. I'm gonna look at it that you feel that you can sit here and do this job, that's perfectly fine. So I'm not gonna take it personal. But I will continue on if I have to. I will continue to communicate and do what I have to do to get ready if there is an opponent, but I won't take it personally. It's not going to be ugly. You know, a lot of mudslinging and all this kind of stuff, that's unnecessary. We have to do things civilly. And that's what I meant. I'm not going to take it personal if it were to happen and say they're trying to go against me. I know better that they might be or may not be, but from my mental state, I'm going to say that it's not against me. So that's why we're just going to make sure it's run perfect.
Any other questions? All right, I'll finish with the hardest hitting question. You have a phone number that ends in 38. Is that the best number to reach you today?
Oh, yes. I have so many phone numbers today, I'm like, 38 kind of threw me off. Okay. Yes, that's the best number. I'll be in court this afternoon. So I may not be near my phone, but yes.
You need to throw a thank you party, regardless of how this turns out. Everybody who wrote you a letter should be invited.
Oh yeah, I wrote their names down. I really did. And my instructor, he was funny because he called me. He goes, "I've been telling my kids about what you're doing," and he even had me on the phone to talk to his kids because he trains children still, grandmaster. And I was like, all right. So however it's worked out, it's benefiting somebody, and I'm happy about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you on Zoom. Yeah, have a great day.
You too.